Hello everyone, back tuning in to our latest update for La Nina. So we had a look at this last month and we have a look at it once a month, see what's going on in the central part of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. So this is June's update. The story over the past few months is that we had the huge El Nino. Last year, of course, it reached its peak around December, as they always do. And then through the early part of this year, it gradually declined away. And we've been sort of thinking about where it's going to go next. And will we go to a cold event? Because very often after a warm El Nino event, you tend to shift to a cold La Nina event. And that's very much where the ENSO update's been trending over the past few. The last update suggested that cold anomalies were beginning to develop in the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, but we hadn't got enough there to say that it was in La Nina, and the modelling seemed to be backing off the idea of a cold event this summer and into the autumn as well. So we'll just have a look and see what the latest ideas are. We'll start off by seeing what's actually going on at the moment in the Equatorial Pacific, and then we'll have a look, see what the models are predicting. Now, earlier on today, we released the first seasonal model update for the autumn of 2016. So we started thinking a little bit about the autumn. You'll find that on the homepage. It'll also be placed on the autumn updates page with its own written summary as well later on here at the website. So if you want to see what the longer range models are thinking could happen for this autumn, then do check out the video on the homepage. Before I get on with the latest ENSO / La Nina update, just say about the ads that go through this. Links articles on the pages. If you have a browse visits and click through links, you'll be able to pay or help pay for the website thanks to this video as opposed to pages, which own that content you watch very close back at the end. I'd say it's helpful to pay for gaps like this. I'm going to start off with the cold and warm episodes by season chart from NOAA. So this is taking us back to 1950. And where you've got the blue numbers in the boxes, that's where you've got a cold event. That's where we've got La Nina years. And you see the very first year, you can see that we did have a La Nina event, 1950 to 1951. The red numbers in the boxes indicating El Nino events, warm events. So, for example, the first El Nino of the graph, so going back to 1950. Takes place in the years of 1951, which is just here, and 1952. That was a very weak one. So we go down through the years and we go down through the table. We eventually arrive at this year, 2016. And of course, we know we had that big El Nino event through last year. That's 2015, just there. And you see all those red numbers in the boxes throughout the year, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that continued into 2016 as well. So strong El Nino to start us off, but it's been backing off really since the start of the year. So the first tri-monthly period comes out at 2.2, and then we go down to 1.9, then we go down to 1.5, and the latest number in the box is 1.1 for the tri-monthly period of March, April and May. So very gradually we've been seeing this El Nino event easing away, dropping off, and the question now is whether these empty boxes are going to be filled up by blue numbers, whether they'll be filled up by a La Nina, by a cold event. We can't say that definitively, yes, that will happen at this stage, but very often after an El Nino, you go to a cold event, you go to a La Nina. For example, here in the years of 2009, 2010, we have the El Nino there, and then we go to the La Nina in the second half of 2010 and going into 2011, and the same thing happens in 1998. So we have the El Nino record breaking up to that point, El Nino of 97-98, which then reverses in the second half of 1998 and goes into the cold La Nina event. So this was the chart from NOAA back in May when we did the last ENSO update. And at that point, we were beginning to see a blue line appearing across the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean just here. And of course, this is the region we're looking at, Peru over here to Indonesia over here. That is the equatorial Pacific Ocean, and El Nino La Nina is essentially warming and cooling in a cyclical nature of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Essentially, it's releasing heat into the atmosphere via El Nino. I mean, it's cooling down via La Nina. Basically, it's the Earth's thermostat at work. We go through natural cycles of warming and cooling with these events. So we had a little bit of blue. We had a little bit of the colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies just there last month, but not a great deal, and certainly not enough to be able to say that this is a La Nina event taking place. As I look back in May, this is the latest from June, 23rd of June, just on Thursday. This was generated by NOAA. And you can see what's happened. We've kept the blue colours and maybe intensified them a little bit through this central part of the equatorial Pacific. At the same time, though, over towards Peru, in the eastern part, we've actually warmed things up a little bit. So we still aren't definitively going into this cold event yet. That was the situation back in May. This is the latest situation. I think we've cooled things down through the central equatorial Pacific, but warm them up a bit as we go through into the eastern part over towards Peru. So it's not enough to say we're in a La Nina yet. And when you've got this sort of thing going on, that one part of the ocean is warming while another is cooling, basically the ocean is fighting against itself, and it's not really hooking into this La Nina yet. Nevertheless, this is quite a cold anomaly that's starting to appear now in this central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So it could well be that we are on our way into La Nina. I feel fairly comfortable now suggesting that we will have a La Nina event. It might not be a particularly strong one, but I think we're going to get there. It's just taking really quite a long time for the ocean to do it. These are the subsurface temperature anomalies. This is from NOAA's weekly updated PDF, and you find the link to this on the links page. It's got a huge amount of information with it. So we can go back to the 23rd of April on this chart and see. Remember, this is under the ocean. This is subsurface temperature anomalies, not surface temperature anomalies or sea surface temperature anomalies. So you can see how much blue we have actually under the surface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean there. A lot of cold water is underneath the surface of the ocean waiting to come up and produce a cold event, and if it all was to come up, it would turn into quite a big cold event actually, but it's just that it's struggling to get up to the top and remain there. So that's back to the 23rd of April. We can see as go down through to the 6th of May, and then 23rd of May, and the 7th of May, exactly what's happened. This is depth just here, and we can see that we've sort of lost the intensity of the blue just there compared to what we have just here. And that's telling us that it's warmed up a little bit. We just saw it. It's warmed up on the surface of the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific because we've lost as much, we haven't got as much in way of colder than average temperature anomalies underneath the sea surface in the eastern equatorial Pacific. But at the same time, it's actually cooled a bit through this central part of the equatorial Pacific. Remember, this is underneath the sea surface. The latest is this one just here, the 12th of June, where again we've still got really quite a big and quite an extensive cold body of cold water waiting to come up to the surface in the central part of the equatorial Pacific, but again you see in the eastern part it is generally shrinking quite a bit, and we've actually got some we almost go to the surface just here. You see we've actually got some slightly warmer than average temperature anomalies right up towards the surface in that eastern part of the equatorial Pacific. But I think it's going to be, I've got a feeling this is just temporary what's happening here, and I think this massive cold water and is waiting to push up, or cold and average water, but it's waiting to push up. I think that's going to be the driver in the end. So I think we will ultimately get to this La Nina, this cold event. Southern Oscillation Index next. Now, this is a reflection of the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean of the Pacific, set between Darwin in Australia and where is the other place that it is set? It's set between Darwin and Tahiti. There, I got there. In the end, it's the atmospheric pressure between Darwin and Tahiti. And we can go back to the 1st of June with this. When the SOI, Southern Oscillation Index, is positive, it's essentially telling you that the atmosphere is reflecting a La Nina state. And to get these events, these La Ninas and El Ninas, you have to shift the atmosphere into a state that reflects what the ocean is doing. So essentially, you've got to get the atmosphere and the oceans to couple up together, and then you will lock in an El Nino or a La Nina event. So we're looking for positive numbers to tell us that we're going to a cold La Nina event. On the 1st of June, it's only very slightly positive, nothing really in it, just plus 3.60. And then on the 6th and 7th of June, we actually go very negative again, minus 18 and minus 29 with the SOI. That is very much reflecting El Nino type condition in the atmospheric setup of the Southern Ocean. A few days later, though, go very positive. 9th and 10th of June goes to plus 19 and plus 18. So you see it's swinging backwards and forwards at this stage, the atmosphere between El Nino and between La Nina. Well, scrolling down, I think we're definitively starting to shift the El Nino, the Southern Oscillation Index now, from El Nino to La Nina. So on the 17th of June, plus 15, on the 18th of June, plus 22, 19th of June, plus 14, 20th of June, plus 10, and the latest on the 24th of June, plus 13. Now, I do get a little bit of negativity just there, but I think the trend with the Southern Oscillation Index is beginning to move to a cold event. It's beginning to move to a positive SOI, which is the atmosphere now starting very slowly, and it's taken a long time to do it, but it is now starting to reflect much more a sort of La Nina type setup. And once the atmosphere locks into place, it will help the ocean to push all that cold water up, and the two of them together will combine to produce a La Nina event. And I think the SOI is telling us that we are beginning to shift in that direction. So let's see what the seasonal models are predicting for the next few months. This is CFS-V2 first of all, and you can see that the trend now, which is this thick black line just here, is back to neutral. So we're definitively out of El Nino, obviously, back to neutral. The black dashed line is the trend line of the model. You can see it is going negative. This is neutral just here, of course. It is going negative. It is going into a La Nina event, but still not really seeing a particularly strong one. The anomaly is on the side. It's only going down sort of -1, so that's around 1 degree below average. Not even quite to that, actually. So it certainly isn't seeing a big La Nina event. It's not seeing a big cold event at all. It's just going still for this idea that it's going to be a very weak, possibly to sort of borderline moderate, but nothing overly dramatic, very weak La Nina is the prediction through January of the year. Missing the dates, of course. January 2017 is just there. So it's going to a La Nina, but a weak one. The ECMWF is doing that as well. So the red lines just here is the ensemble plume. So each individual red line is representing one member of the ECMWF ensembles. And again, we've got the anomaly on the temperature anomaly on the side. Dates are along the bottom. So again, clearly you can see that we are going underneath neutral. Neutral's just there. We are going into a cold event, going into a La Nina event. But again, it is quite a weak when it only goes down to this sort of level at its strongest. And actually, interestingly, through the autumn, when quite unusually, it is beginning to, the ensemble plume anyway, is beginning to move back upwards again. Not to El Nino, but back towards neutral. So it's seeing sort of a bit of a weak La Nina for summer, and then going back towards neutral in autumn, which is very unusual for that to happen. And I would suspect if we do get La Nina in place by the end of the summer, we will probably stay in that condition through to the end of the year. It would be very unusual to have a summer La Nina, albeit just a weak one, and then go back towards neutral in the autumn. And then finally, the Jamstec IOD. So the blue line here is where we've been in the ENSO region. The red line is where the model is forecasted to go. We've got temperature on the side, dates on the bottom. And again, you can see that red line is going underneath neutral. So it is taking us into a La Nina event, but again it's quite a weak one. Actually, this just here doesn't get down to a level that would even be designated as a La Nina event, because you have to go underneath 0.5 degrees below average over 5 tri-monthly periods to actually get a La Nina designated. We don't do that through to October anyway. Eventually we do go down into a weak La Nina around the end of the year, but it's all very, very weak with this event. So although I've got a little bit of cold water in that central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, although I think the Southern Oscillation Index beginning to shift into La Nina, the models are still just seeing very weak, almost borderline not into a La Nina event, just neutral, but on the cold side of neutral, if you like. I've got a feeling, because how the SOI is beginning to trend, we will go into a La Nina, but I think it's going to be a weak one. I don't think it's going to be overly strong. And that does have implications for winter. I won't say any more about that at the moment. That'll be more for the winter updates, but we do get different outcomes, or we can get different outcomes from a weak La Nina winter or a moderate to strong La Nina winter, and that will be something that we discuss when winter updates begin in September. So that's how we're looking at the moment. It's basically hasn't changed a great deal from where we was last month, but very, very gradually. It is such a gradual process this year. Very gradually we're shifting towards a cold event. Looks like it's only going to be a weak one. That's it for now. Check out the autumn update on the homepage. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.